Hello, and welcome to Overcome a Mental Health Podcast. I'm your host, Travis White. This is a place for you to share your mental health stories. I'm very excited for tonight's guest. I'm speaking with Nicholas Ruchlewicz. Nicholas is a trauma and brain injury survivor and also a mental health advocate. Welcome to the show, Nicholas.
Thank you very much, Travis. I appreciate you having me on.
Oh, the pleasure's all mine. And without wasting any time, I'm just going to hand the microphone over to you and let you tell us about your journey.
Perfect. Well, thank you. Well, my journey with my journey with mental health actually happened, I guess, in 2010. It was someone in my life who was suffering from an ailment, and I wanted to go to a therapist. How do I help? I need to help this person. I need to help this person. And then I found out how to help myself through it. And that was something that I was never expecting, which gave me the courage to kind of take those next steps into whatever I needed to do. But then on March 15th, 2016, I was in a motorcycle crash, single vehicle motorcycle crash. So on the Ides of March, on the Brain Injury Awareness Month. So I did a double jeopardy. Separated my pelvic circle, broken my sacroiliac, crushed my left orbital, massive concussion, right side brain bleed, subdermal hematoma. So I always say just a little bit of trauma. I live in outside of the Washington D.C. area, so I was taken to the area's only level 1 trauma center in Fairfax. Went right up into the trauma unit. They were concerned that with the facial injury that the bone was going to pierce the brain. Fortunately, it did not, but I was definitely not, I was not in good shape. I was never in a coma, but I was never technically unconscious. I was responsive at the scene. I would moan or make noise. Fortunately, none of my family saw me. The only one that was there was the officer that called the paramedics. So fortunately, my family never had to see me in that circumstance. I went right up into the unit, and I didn't, like I said, didn't have to have brain surgery, but I wasn't aware of anything. They had to do facial reconstruction on me. They had to say that movie Face Off, full of crap. They had to pull my face down, redo my eye socket. And yeah, it wasn't fun. It wasn't easy. The every brain injury is different. It's something I am very aware of now, that every injury is very different from each person. One person can have this happen to them and completely different results. So right side is where my injury happened. So right side is left side. So generally you can't have feeling or certain difficulties on the opposite side of your brain, but also how your vision works is right side. Your compulsivity, your understanding, your problem solving is generally right side as well. And I say that because I was non-weight bearing for 12 weeks, but I also had staples across my head, holding my face together. And I didn't know I shouldn't do certain things because, again, it was compulsory. So I would immediately, when they didn't tie my hands down, I pulled the intubator up. I pulled staples out of my head. One time I stood up out of the bed, and then I ended up breaking the sutures in my pelvis, and that was a plate holding me together. So I'm never coming apart. Um, but I was taken to, I always say I woke up when I was taken to a rehabilitation hospital. And that's where I had to relearn how to do so much. And getting up in there, seeing two of everything, it was very, very intimidating. And, every brain injury is different. Every injury is different. And the hospital has, different types of therapy going through. So I went to acute rehab facility where they have, where they, treat brain and spinal cord injuries. They have what's called occupational therapy, speech therapy, and physical therapy. And I always say the first person I went to see was my speech therapist, and that was probably, I was lucky that was the first one because I had no idea how hard it was going to be. I mean, I said to her, she said, and I said, I can speak fine. I don't know why you're talking like this. I just can't stand. I just can't walk. And I didn't realize how much was going on that I didn't know. and that was really hard. It was terrifying, and I remember being very upset with her and just very upset in general. Stop treating me like a child. Stop. And when she left, I just cried and I cried and I cried. So I learned a lot, like I said before my accident, fortunately, my crash, about myself and mental health. And I learned that anger, they call it a secondary emotion. And anger can only come out of one of three ways: crying, yelling, a physical. That's just how it works. And for me, my triggers are being belittled and frustrated. And I don't know how much more belittling or frustrating is not being able to sit, stand, think, eat, etc. So it was very tough. So that was where I had to relearn how to, basically, they say reborn, but it doesn't take long to reset everything, and then trying to regain it is pretty tough.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Sorry, go ahead. It's all crazy to me because I've never had to deal with anything like this.
It's all good. I appreciate it. I mean, it's nobody, we don't know what we're going through until it happens. It's just kind of how it is. And there is no way that we can find ourselves, can they go through this? It's just how we get through anything in life. I mean, human beings, for some reason, they only succeed when they go through struggles and trials. It's just how humanity works. It sucks, but it's just part of the facts. And yeah, so I had to, again, try to learn to calm down and take things in. During my When I was over at the trauma unit in the intensive care unit, I was never cognizant, so I wasn't aware of certain things. But my girlfriend would play my heavy metal music station, and the nurses and stuff looked like she's crazy, but it was actually really interesting. So when I was going through pain spikes, which I call it now being uncomfortable, because they say pain has too much power over you, the word. So I just call it being uncomfortable. It's one way I've learned to kind of manage my pain management. But anyhow, so when she played my music, my literally blood pressure would lower. Like, it's crazy how it does. And so I say that because through my journey, going through in the hospital and then obviously going out, music has always been such a wonderful way for me to kind of help heal and help reset myself through those darker times before my trauma, where I music helped me spur and decide the next steps I need to do with my life to, obviously my trauma. But I was in the acute rehab facility for a few weeks, and then that's where I again had to relearn how to, proceed. And then night was hard. Many times a day were hard. Just closing my eyes in that darkness was a big struggle. One of the things I do now, I'm a mentor through the hospital system, so I volunteer with patients. And I was only in mentoring real briefly. I had to be taken out because there was a lot of pain and discomfort. But the person's story really inspired me. I just heard them for 5 minutes, but they had a brain aneurysm, and now didn't know, they were a math professor before and they didn't know how to understand numbers anymore. And I was like, why am I so upset? Like, this is BS. Like, I just can't relax. I just can't calm down. I mean, I'm being selfish. So that's not healthy, thinking I'm being selfish for that, but it is factually what I felt. So, but I realized that after that, I wanted to make sure nobody felt alone. Nobody was able to go through anything like that without knowing they had an ally to it. So that's kind of how this whole idea of becoming an advocate was about. It was about, through this horrible circumstance that I would never have wished for anything, to now being partnered with someone going through this terrible journey by their side and with them. And it's led me to a lot of really, really awesome opportunities. I volunteer with a national group, technically international group, National Trauma Survivors Network. So there's a local chapter in my trauma unit. They were not active when my trauma happened, so we didn't really have support. But it's nice because actually tomorrow, I'm actually going. No, I'm not tomorrow. Wednesday, I'm going into the unit, and we're speaking to other, you know, trauma survivors, and it's nice because our injuries, our traumas are all very different, but we all speak that similar language of that recovery, that fear, that unknown. And that's something that's very powerful that we have. So when I had the opportunity to help give back and help work with others, that's how, again, I kept pushing myself to become more and more vulnerable through all that and allowing myself to have the strength to, kind of to push through it. And yeah, I know that's a long-winded, and I can, yeah.
No, you're totally good. I love how much detail you're going into, and I admire your advocacy work and going in and helping others. I think that's great that you've found this place in life where you can give back. I do have a question for you. Your brain injury, what did like your mental health look like before compared to after? Did it get worse? Like, can you go into any details about that?
Did it get worse? Well, it didn't get easier, I promise you that.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because I did a keynote speech at a brain injury conference, and one of the things I said is, I don't know this, but did certain things, did a brain injury, if you had a brain injury happen, did it amplify certain things that might have already been going on in there? I've always been an overperformer. I've always been a very fast-paced person. Just it's naturally who I was. Um, I'm a tornado and not a hurricane because they can see me coming, but I'm very fast. But I think that I assumed I probably already was on. I had like ADHD before, but I was never diagnosed. But I was super high functioning. But after my brain injury, it was definitely very diagnosed, very like this is something that's going on to help work out. I had to help have assistance going through it. I was always depressed. Before that, I was depressed. I was anxious, but I think that afterwards it made it greater. They do a little form and see if you have PTSD. And when I took it, it was much more on the highly clinical depression side than it was the PTSD side, but it's obviously a little bit of both. They say anxiety is the hard one for me. I've learned a ton of analogies through this, and depression is being out in tall grass and a lion charging at you. Anxiety is being in the tall grass and knowing there's a lion somewhere in front of you. And I was like, I'd rather be
This
depressed at times than the anxious. Yeah.
and that's spot on. I've never heard that analogy before. I suffer from depression and anxiety myself. And that's actually a really good way to put it for people that may not understand or who have never been through anything like that. How would you say your experience has shaped the way you see yourself today?
Well, I now feel like I have a purpose. I can be of service. I mean, you mentioned it, and I've learned a ton of quotes along the way, but help is a gift we freely give. So me being able to help others has definitely been very rewarding for myself. I do say that's why I started that silly, channel, gifts of perspective. So, my trauma gave me a gift of perspective. So I see things very differently through everything. So that's something that I'm very proud of, that it's given me this platform to speak at. And be it I've mentioned music because I like talking about it. And you know I reached out to one of the bands that helped get me through it, and I wrote to them and told them about my story. They were interested, and we kind of messaged back and forth. And they I ended up having an interview with the lead, the one of the vocalists, and I talked to her about it. And super kind, super cool, but just about how their music helped me through the my trauma. And then it was a wonderful interview, and it reached you know hundreds of people. I mean, it doesn't matter how many, but it was cool because people from they're international, they're from Italy, but their fans from Germany and France or Australia reached out to me and thanked me for it. And so I've been able to have these cool connections through this, from this trauma, because I've been able to take this mantle on and try to make it my own, try to tell patients, survivors, just, control the narrative. When you stand in front of it, nobody can take that from you. So when you stand in front of that story, you're the one that's the one, doing it. And it's really important to know that, especially now with the ridiculous how toxic the social media, blah blah blah. We know how toxic it all is, but being in front of it's important. And I do. I am grateful to be a survivor. I'm grateful to have handled all these difficult things. And another mentor once said, "Why not me?" So now I took that on. Why not me? If anybody can do it, I know it's me. So I try to do what I can to help push myself to greater limits and greater opportunities to enhance myself and enhance others while I'm doing it.
Well, that's very cool. And I love how music's played such a big role in helping you overcome the struggles that you've been through. Because I'm the same way. I'm huge into like the metal scene, and I mean I'll listen to just about everything, but it's depending on my mood. But I think it's cool that it brought you and you're able to interview somebody out of it. What do you think has been the hardest part of your recovery journey?
Hardest part is trying to be kind to myself and forgive myself for it, for happening, for trying to be kind to myself is always going to be the hardest thing until I think I'm no longer able to. It's just, it was an accident. It was a random act. It wasn't purposeful, but it still feels like I feel like I have all that hurt that I caused everybody because of it. But I know that's a BS way of thinking, but it doesn't mean it doesn't feel that way quite a bit.
Yeah, I think we've all been down that road before. I always think it's really hard to show yourself a little bit of grace in those times. Like, and it's especially like I can say, looking back at my life, that there's times where I go, well, I need to forgive myself in order to move on, to even get past this struggle or challenge that I'm trying to overcome.
Yeah, I said it to patients. I said, if you look at the person to the left or looking to the right, you would never be mean to them. Why are you being mean to yourself? I said, doesn't mean I listen to my own advice, but
Yeah, I get what you're saying. When it comes to trauma or brain injuries, what is the biggest misconception that you find yourself correcting most often?
that I guess there's which one do we want to go through? So that your life is over. That's not the case. The life as you might have thought, might have where it's changed. It's not over. It's still there. I say, again, one of my many things I say is, your injury, your illness, your trauma didn't end in a period, just a comma. It's like your semicolon. It's just part of your story, and you go on. Um, every Everything in life is about change. It's not easy sometimes. It can be great at times, but we gain so much out of these different difficulties we have. So the life that we might have assumed we were having is different, but also 10 years ago, we never would have thought in general where we are now, where we were 10 years ago. So that is different from that. And I try to tell patients sometimes and remind myself that today will never happen again. It's not possible. It'll never happen again. And I promise everybody the sun will rise tomorrow. Sometimes allowing yourself that little bit of grace just to say, it's okay to have a bad day. It's okay. And to, you know, move on. And then the other thing that a brain injury taught me was, especially working with other patients and meeting them, that just because you can't assume something is going on with someone. I know some people who it's hard to hear them or a little hard to maybe understand them. And some people have thought them about mentally, incapacitated, and they're not. They understand very well. It's just because of their head injury, they cannot it's very hard for them to speak. It's just how our brain works. So it has taught me how to communicate better with people because I make sure I look them in the eye. I make sure I'm focusing on them, and allows them for me to give them the grace that they need. It's allowed me to slow down and to take things in a little bit at a time to allow me to, reciprocate it. So again, with the quote, Viktor Frankl said, the space between stimulus and response is where the power lies. Sometimes allowing yourself to take those couple seconds, couple moments to, and then collect yourself and then relive is very powerful. It's something that we all have. And one of the things that the only thing we can do is only thing we can control is ourself. It's our response to the situation. And trying to control something else will never go well. You can just control our reactions. That's it. And it's just more we go through that, more we can recognize, you know, moving forward and understanding that. And one of the biggest lies I tell people is control, because control is something that we kind of, yeah. But that's a much longer conversation about control.
Yeah, and I can't tell you how many times I've been told that in therapy because I've always just wanted to control everything, and my therapist is always like, "No, you can only control what you can't control. That's what you need to work on. The rest, like, just push it away. You can't
I
do it
tell
all."
people the world would be a lot better if you let me run it, but they don't let me.
So all the days that it feels impossible to move forward, what keeps you going?
What keeps me going? Well, this can-do attitude of being a persistent little POS and just wanting to keep going. And no, I mean it knowing that I love my dogs, I love my wife, and I love just taking them out for a walk and seeing nature. Sometimes I love, like, I fortunately can see the stars really well, so a lot of times at night when I walk the dogs, I love looking up at the sky and seeing them. And I like feeling the power the world has, the universe has, and just knowing how small we are in it. And through that, I mean, I know that we are such a speck of sand in the ever, of this world, of this galaxy, of this time. But the changes we can do can live a lot longer, trying to, just make it a little bit better, and just trying to do the next. I say to myself and say to others, I always try to do the next right thing. Whatever it is, just try to do that next right thing, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I love it. It's really cool. Uh, another question here. How do you balance the pressure of being an advocate with your own healing?
Well, I feel that the more I help others, the stronger that is me healing. Um, a good a good musician friend of mine tells me I need to slow down and recharge so I can help more people, and I don't. I'm like that stupid bunny that beats on a drum all day. I can last forever, but helping others is how I am able to reflect on why I've made it, why I've done so well, is to help bring it forward and help doing a little bit better. So that is how I've become an advocate for that. I've also had to realize sometimes that I can't help everyone, and that's hard. And I really wish I could. But what I can do is I can try to allow others to see themselves for where they are, allow me to see that I am be willing there to be with them, to walk with them. And one thing that some people will talk bad about being empathetic, but that's just it's a great thing to have. It actually shows the strength of character you have to be empathetic with someone, be willing to take on and walk with them. You're not taking anything from them, you're walking with them. So there is no superiority, there is no, inferiority, it's just with them. And that's something that I try to let patients know, that one thing that we have as survivors is we can be empathetic to others that have been through struggles, because now they know that we're a safe place for them and they can be safe too. Because one thing I will promise everybody, that everybody's going out there going through something. might not seem something, it might be small to them, but it could be huge to someone else. And it's funny, we talked to another trauma survivor, and they would look at us like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened to you. I can't believe that. And that can never, I could never have made it through that. But see, if I hear them say that, I would say the same thing. And the reason why we say that is because this was the worst day that I ever had. And I know for a fact that I survived it. So I can't imagine going through that. And that other person couldn't imagine going through what I went to. But they survived there. So they themselves understand I made it through. I can't handle that. So trying to, again, have that perspective of seeing things a little differently, and trying to take note of where you are is powerful. I mean, it is good, and it's being kind to remind ourselves how far we've come, and the people we've also brought along in this journey, and how important they are to our lives and our healing. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I absolutely love how you've basically found your life's calling by having this traumatic brain injury, and you're helping all these people. Like I love it. Like and it's crazy. Like when you find that thing that you're passionate about, how it just pushes you through every day, no matter how hard that day gets. Like you're like, I've got this. I can do this now, and I know that I can.
I I would say, like, there's worse crap in the world. It's, try to, deflect it. And, it's something I learned in speech therapy. It's called stop and deflect. It's so if sometimes someone's telling you something you don't want to hear, you just, like, when you say, like, stop, I don't want to hear it. No, you know, try to reframe it. I'm so sorry that's happening. Can you believe the crazy weather we're having? You've acknowledged it, and now you're just, separating it from another topic. I have friends, and like I was talking to a friend today from in Latin America about, and she's, just super kind, and just telling me all the time how important I am and how much I've helped them. And I'm like, what do you mean? I don't never met you, but understand that we go through life in these little grains of sand we drop around, little all this thing, it builds up something. And again, just like me, I'm speaking about that mentor earlier who had a brain aneurysm. Their conversation was, they probably had it a dozen times, but me hearing it that one time helped change my trajectory. And that's one thing I'm very fortunate for, because I feel that I'm very good at explaining my situation. I'm making it very approachable. It's not just, oh, you can only have this if you had a brain injury. No, I mean, mine was a brain injury, but also my mental health struggles are something that we are all allowed and do have. It's not just because I had a TBI that I have this. Absolutely not. I am willing to speak about it because I want others to know that, what is it? It's okay to not be okay. I mean, especially right now in this country, everything's always, oh, it's mental health problems. Like, there is obviously mental health problems, but there's also no solutions on how to resolve it. And I mean, what you're doing here is helpful, because it helps people know, to hear that it out there, that there's something in. And I'm trying to find more ways to help out around in our local area. I mean, I'm trying to talk to my state congressional person to go to Richmond and maybe talk to them about, here are some of the issues that we have, trying to get healthcare, and finding therapy with it. And it's just these little things that I've been willing to take on because I want to challenge myself, maybe. And someone said, I'm not afraid. I fail first. So I'm willing to do anything, because I always say, well, I'm probably going to fail anyway. I might as well try. I just move forward like the Kool-Aid man.
I like that, like the Kool-Aid man. I need to have more of your attitude of
Oh
failing
yeah.
first. I
What'd you say?
I said I need to have more of your attitude of failing first, so I actually try more things out. I feel like I'm sometimes too afraid to fail.
It's perfectly natural, and that's how we are. That's how we are people. That's how we got out of the caves. I mean, we had to be afraid of what was out there. It's like I didn't have any self confidence before my trauma. I'm still now, probably. I mean, I fake it till I make it. I don't think I had it, but I just went through it. I always say I'm this dumb kid. I never went to special, never went to college, this and that. So I was just this dumb kid. But I know that's not true. But again, I'm not afraid to put myself in those uncomfortable situations.
Hmm.
And I know that I've been through some pretty hard stuff, but I know that others have been through so much that I couldn't even imagine going through, that I just have so much empathy and compassion for. And that's what helps make me strong, is being able to express that fear, express that vulnerabilities, express that, you know, where it is. And fear is, as you can see in my video, I'm a big nerd. I have a lot of comic book crap and everything else. And I learned from the Green Lantern that when willpower can stop fear, and any will fear cannot survive, and will is out there. So I go through everything, face first, if you will, but trying not to fear it, because it's only can control us.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. And that's one thing I'm trying to do is stop being so fearful of the ideas that I have, so I could just push myself out there further. Um, because you kind of mentioned it too. Is like when you share your story, it's amazing how, like, if you just get that one person to come forward and say, you know what, you helped change me, or and you've also said that everybody has a story, whether you're going to tell it or not. Everybody has something they're going through. I want I I'm thinking a little bit back to your brain injury, and you may have mentioned this a little bit. Was there anything that you had to like fully relearn, or like you came out of your brain injury just like totally forgetting? Did you like, because I know that you've mentioned that every brain injury is different. Did you have to like relearn how to talk or anything like that, or?
Depends on who you ask. Maybe talking. I never lost the ability to talk. Probably would have been good at now and then. Um, I had to. It's. I know how well I recovered. I don't take it for granted. But I know that I had to try to slow down. I had to try to collect my thoughts. I had
Hmm.
to re see where I am. I had to pace myself. I had to relearn how to walk and move. I mean, I still don't have full feeling in my left side. It's just it kind of is what it is. And now I had to relearn how to use my eyes and control them together. All these little things. Was anything not have 100%? No, it was a lot of it was very negligent or not
Hmm.
working well. So I had to adapt all that. Um, Fortunately, again, I have healed really well. And sometimes if I do too much, or if I'm getting tired, I'll drop things on my left side, or I try not to pick up cups with my left hand, because I don't necessarily know where it is in space, and I'll drop it hard, or I'll bump things. Or if I'm really exhausted, my eyes will start to drift. So I'll start seeing two of everything. So that is where I need to remember, slow down,
Yeah.
take a couple of breaths, just try to look at your fingers again, try to get your eyes to work again. So it's those little stuff that I
Hmm.
had to do. I never had to relearn how to do everything completely, but it's those, a lot of it at once was not easy.
Yeah, I can only imagine that I would be just on. I'm trying to think of the words. I don't even have the words to say because I can't imagine going through anything like that. I mean, I've experienced stuff myself with like different things, but nothing compared to that.
Comparison is the thief of
Is
joy. There's
yeah,
no reason
yeah,
to,
to compare,
yeah. And
yeah.
the important thing is that I tell people, you know, the only thing you need to know is when you need help, there is thousands of people out there that you will never know that will help you. And that's something that is great. And, if I wouldn't take my injury from me, I wouldn't take it away. I would take away the fear and the pain my family saw in me or not knowing, but I wouldn't do that, because my hospital therapists were at my proposal, and they were at my wedding as well. I do not want those people outside of my life. The opportunities I've had from it are something that are just beyond, belief. So I'm very fortunate that I've had. I mean, hell, like I said, I'm brave enough to talk to a international band in Italy and their fans and their friends. And I mean, how cool was that? Because I
Mm,
was willing to take that chance and say, hey, this didn't define me. This injury didn't define me. I'm the
mhm.
one that did myself. I just used this as a platform to break through, to just get in. This is where I did. Now people will listen. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened to you. Yes, now they'll understand where I'm coming from. So it allows me to have, like I said, my nerd street cred's pretty high, but my life cred's pretty high too with that.
I like that there's street cred. That's really cool. I think it's cool, like how many opportunities it has brought you. Because it's like you never know where you're going to end up at the end of one of life's challenges. Because it's like they're never ending, right? It's how has your perspective changed on life since the accident?
How has it changed on life? So I don't, if something would have happened to me and I didn't make it, I know that people would know how I felt about them because I was always very open and honest with people. So I'm very grateful that happened. Before that I was, but now I will always make sure I will tell someone thank you or say be kind to someone because we don't know what it will change in their day. You could have a really crappy day, but and you could be with people all day, just be in complete, pricks to you, but also someone would be nice and it could change the entire way of looking at it. There was a book my therapist talked to me about a person who was going to commit suicide and jump off a bridge. And they said that when they were walking across the bridge, they said, if someone looks at me and smiles, I won't do it. Like, I won't. And nobody did. So they got there and said, all right, and jumped. But at the last second, said they can't do this. And they thought of something good and they busted a bunch of bones, but they survived. And I think about that story all the time, and that's why I always just try to smile at someone or just try to give them, hold the door, say thank you, and whatever. I mean, I'm a big dude. I have a lot of tattoos and wear like crazy metal shirts, stuff like that, but I will still hold the door for people. I will help them out because it's the right thing to do. It's a nice thing to do. And it doesn't take any extra effort for me to be kind to someone or to just hope someone wish someone a good day. That's it. And just keep on walking. But
Yeah, and I think that's really cool, and I think that's important because I think I generally believe that society is or people generally are nice, but I also think that there's that side of it where it's like I don't feel like I'm trying to think how to say this. I don't feel like society we're always taught to be nice to people. We're not always taught to be kind. Like I remember growing up, I feel like walking around the neighborhood. It may have been growing up in a smaller town, but like I feel like people growing up were generally nicer in general than they are today. And
I think I mean, I don't have kids and I will never have them.
yeah,
So to more power to everybody. But I think that that is true. I think that, I mean, I know that I've always tried to be kind. I've always tried to really take that effort to do it. And I'm very fortunate that I was around. I had the opportunities to do so, and I think that I talked briefly earlier about the idea of the horrific internet and social media and everything else. I mean, that's people can hear negative a lot. It reverberates a lot, but so I that's why I try to go out of my way to just be nice or kind because it helps bury that out. Like I would say if I don't give negative breath, it doesn't live. So if I don't need to speak about it, it doesn't need to empower me. Because the more you talk about it, the more that darkness just, kind of erodes at you and just overwhelms you. So if I just, let it go, as some evidently Disney song, let it go, it won't have that as much of power over us as it really needs to feel like it does.
yeah, it's you. definitely cannot feed that negativity. And I think just our amount of screen time in general as human beings right now is just horrible. It makes it way worse.
Definitely not easy. And I'm like good. I mean, I try to stay have as much social media as I can, and it's definitely helped. And it's good for all of us. And I try. My therapist the same thing. Don't look at the news, don't anything else. And I'm not ignorant, but I can only sometimes take. I watch puppy videos or I watch music videos. I don't want to watch a bunch of other crap.
Yeah, yeah. It's there's definitely, especially nowadays, a lot going on, and it's like I don't think our bodies were meant to handle all the negative that we do see. So, looking ahead, what impact do you hope your advocacy and storytelling will have on others?
I hope that hope is a free medicine, another one of my sayings, but I hope that it'll allow others to feel they have that strength that might be inside of them that I believe that we each have. I feel that my advocacy, my willingness to speak about the uncomfortable does help show others that they are not alone in this. And again, I'm not taking anything from anybody else saying they want to help someone and not wanting to, but I will always be the one that I will promise if I say something, I will honestly do it. I tell people like I have to look at myself in the mirror at night and I have to expect and respect who I see. So I try to make sure that I want to be the person I'm expected to be. So that's why I work as hard as I do to be an advocate so others know that they are not alone and I can say at the end of the day if I didn't make it through it at least I did my best until this day. And I'm happy to say that.
So just a couple last questions here. What are some victories, big or small, that you are most proud of?
Victories, big or small. Well, I guess they all I guess it feels see this is something that I feel bad. Am I bragging? Like so I could never imagined going to US Congress and speaking to representative staffers about the importance of trauma in the system. I could never imagined doing that. Never imagined speaking to students about trauma and where it did. Again, musicians about, how important their music was through my recovery and just, as simple as just thanking someone who I was able to help out at the hospital has definitely been, I guess things are like fly in my mind all super fast. So growing up, I never liked Thanksgiving. I always felt it was so toxic. It was so much family drama. It was just so much crap, and I didn't like it. So I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to celebrate it. But after my trauma, I celebrate it now. I do it differently. I go to the hospital and I give out food and snacks and stuff to the the workers there, the nurses, the staff, because they are there, and I want to say thank you to them. So that is something that it seems small doing it, but I don't know how much that made me feel, how good it made me feel, and how important it became part of an identity for myself that I so needed it when I did.
That's really cool that you do that, and I bet you mean more to people like doing that than you really think that you do. It's
I know that's true. Yeah.
I think that the small things in life that we do sometimes mean the most.
Yeah. After my we were driving around here and my wife and we were driving in the night and after our wedding we got all these beautiful flowers and that and like what the hell are you gonna do with it tons of flowers so we went to a memory care home after our wedding. We brought all the flowers to them. What a wonderful thing to gift because we're not going to keep them anyhow. So we also brought some to the hospital and stuff. I did that too, but it was nice that we can make sure they had a second life for it. So again, that was a simple thing, but it was an act of kindness that we could do that did make me feel very humble to do.
It's really cool. So this is a general question that I ask everybody who comes on the show. What do you believe is the biggest stigma when it comes to mental health?
Biggest stigma? Well, asking for help is probably the biggest one, and not is this a stigma or just not known? Not understanding that you can't say you, are, we all need to work on something. So that mental health is about others, fixing others around you, and that's not the case. Well, I heard something once. If you ran into an you know if you ran into a butthole one day, you're a jerk. Someone's being a jerk. You ran into him. He's over one person a day. That's awful. But if you ran into a jerk all day, maybe you're the jerk. So trying to understand that. So allow yourself to make mistakes and allow yourself to learn from them and be vulnerable for it and ask yourself those tough questions because nobody has their own answers. And the other stigma would be you are nobody's going to be fixing right like that. It doesn't work like that. And that's one of the things too that I've learned about, like in uh, Virginia, I believe, in other states. But when you first time you get a therapy, basically the therapist has to has to tell your insurance they think you're going to be fixed in cured in a year. It ain't going to happen. It's not how it works. But we have this horrible system that does this. So, but people under forgetting that it's a work in progress. You are a work in progress. We are a work in progress. Keep tuning yourself up and keep trying to do it. And, you know, it's not just lip service saying it's okay to not be okay. Truly okay to not be okay. Just it's a real thing. It's a real thing that it's okay to struggle, that there are people out there that'll help you and it's okay to ask for help.
Yes, for sure. I just want to emphasize on the fixing thing. Coming from mental health, I don't think you're ever fixed. I think it's the whole thing to me is like learning to live with like the stuff, like learning to, like, when you're feeling that bit of anxiety coming on, what are you going to do in that moment to push that anxiety aside and know that it's just noise in your head? Where can people find you?
Well, I need to have a little better internet presence, I guess, but I have a simple link tree at a gift of perspective. I created a Gmail address, gifts of perspective at gmail.com. I did different YouTube talks and trying to do what I can to help others. So that is the very, small internet corner that I have. I also do a lot of work with traumasurvivorsnetwork.org, and that is for people that have been through actual trauma units or have faced with trauma. That way there is help out there. So I try to do what I can to help bring people awareness for there's more out there, because trauma is mental health and trauma are very different, and a lot of times those paths cross. But trauma is the number one killer of people from 18 to 45. That's the number one cause of death. So it's not easy. And traumatic brain injuries are male traumatic brain injury survivors are twice as likely to commit suicide than a regular male. So that is where all these things, that mental health is such a key thing in speaking about it. And if you want to find me, I'll safe space, talk, and try to find help, network, ask questions, and always talk to your doctors, always talk to therapists, and always don't be afraid to allow yourself to be vulnerable. And listening to me now, obviously I'm willing to be vulnerable too.
And we've discussed quite a few things here tonight. Is there anything that you'd like to bring up that we did not discuss?
I don't um I don't think so. I guess actually the only thing that so I'm talking to with trauma survivors and with again my different advocacy, and one of the things I'm learning about is how much community helps us with our recoveries of any sort. And I never realized how strong it was. And I have three major communities essentially. I have my friends that I met through music. That all these I go to concerts and shows and talk to them. So I have this awesome like music community. I have my volunteering community, such as speaking out to like, people like yourself, people at the hospital. So I have this awesome community that I've grown, and I'm a big tabletop gamer, and I have this huge community of them where I've met people from literally around the globe to play, and it's really neat to be able to be safe and find people that reflect certain things about you. And I've said to people that some people in our lives will there'll be reflections of some of the best parts of us, and that's good. So having finding that community and being okay to be able to be with that community is a good thing. It's safe for everybody.
I actually love that you just brought that up because I think community is huge in, I think, recovering from most things in life. It's it's a big part. You always need those people in your corner. And well, I thank you so much for coming on and chatting with me. I admire what you're doing. I love that you've found this purpose in life and are going through speaking to people and helping people know that they're not alone. I think it's important. So thank you
Thank
for
you. I
taking the
appreciate it.
time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And yeah, not it's my pleasure. Stories like yours are the reason why I keep doing this. And thank you to all the listeners out there. If you felt anything from this episode, please share it on social media and follow us and review one of our episodes. That'd be great. And thanks again for listening. Until next time.